Hey guys, it's Alex from 7th Hour Films, and today I'm going to be reviewing episode 10 of season 3 of Supergirl. This is the Legion of Superheroes, and right as I start this video, I notice my glasses are a little unclean. So, the Legion of Superheroes. In this episode, it pretty much picks up right where the last episode left off. Kind of. I think they say it's like 2 days later, so technically I think it's 2 days after Christmas, which is interesting. Normally between the mid-season finale and the, I guess, mid-season return, generally they put about a month, because a month passes in real life. But yeah, they say it's really just a few days later, so after Christmas, whatever. And Supergirl is in a coma, and basically while she's in a coma, Mon-El and I believe it's Irma, I'm going to try to remember names now. Irma basically bring in their friend called Brainiac 5. So they bring in Brainiac 5. I think he had another name, but initially they just called him Brainiac 5, and that's the one I remember. So maybe in the next couple episodes I'll start to remember names. So yeah, they bring in Brainiac 5, who basically, they put a device on Supergirl's forehead, and they basically just put him into her mind. Like, he connects their minds so he can talk to her while she's in a coma. Interesting stuff. It's weird how they just kind of bring him out of nowhere. That he's just, and here's Brainiac 5. Oh, okay. You didn't think to bring this guy out sooner? So yeah, it's kind of weird how Brainiac 5 just shows up. They just go like, hey, Brainiac 5 is here now. It's like, oh, okay. Anywho, so yeah, Kara is stuck in her own coma, and basically what Brainiac 5 determines is that her body and her mind are perfectly healed, but she still can't get out of the coma. And so they're trying to figure out why. Meanwhile, Rain is still out there. Rain is still on the loose, and basically she's going after criminals because she's trying to bring justice, basically. But she's also going after the justice system because she believes that the justice system has failed, I guess, and she doesn't think that it should bring the justice that they should, I guess. And only she can do that, so she goes out and she's killing people. And yeah. So because Supergirl is knocked out, they don't really know how they can take on Rain. And Irma actually takes Mon-El aside and is like, hey, maybe we should help them. And Mon-El's like, no, we can't help them. We cannot jeopardize the future. And we're not sure what that means yet. We get that a little bit later. And so then the DEO decides, okay, we're going to go ahead and try to take on Rain with as much kryptonite as we have, which is not a lot of kryptonite. They basically just have, I think they said they have leftover kryptonite from Metallo, which was like all the way last season. But because they even said, like, Clark took all the kryptonite from the DEO because he didn't want them to have it, which, you know, you can debate about that, but that's another issue. But Jean says that yes, they do have a little bit of kryptonite, it's just not a lot. So they take the kryptonite, they basically set up Rain to show up, like, because they're not sure, like, well, how do you know where Rain is going to be? It's like, well, we'll make Rain come to us. So they sort of they set up their own bank heist. Like, they go to a bank, and they go and they start shooting guns and stuff, and Rain comes in, off come the mess, it's the DEO, and even, like, everyone there, like, all the customers and, I guess the bank tellers or something, I don't know if that's the correct term, but they're all part of the DEO too, so it's all this huge setup. I love stuff like that. Because it's well thought out and kind of obvious at the same time. Like, now that I'm actually stopping and thinking about it, it's like, it's a well thought out plan, and it's so obvious because you would think that the normal thing to do would be, well, just go pretend to rob a bank. Like, I feel like that's... I can't give you a specific example of when that has happened, like in a superhero show, but I do feel like that's a thing. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. But it's well thought out and obvious at the same time. Because you don't want to risk civilians. So yeah, so they try to take down Rain, but Rain is really not affected that much by the kryptonite. It's not enough to harm her. Like it starts to weaken her, but she overcomes it, I guess is how I could put that. Basically implying that she's stronger than a normal Kryptonian. So yeah, we cut back to Kara's mind. Before this, so Lames, if you remember from my mid-season finale review, I talked about Lames a little bit. That is the shipping between Lena Luthor and James Olsen, who I always called Jimmy, so it really should be Limmy. But anyway, there's a little bit more of that. A little bit more trying to develop their relationship, I guess. Right now, it's not serving any purpose to the plot. I'm willing to see if it does serve a purpose to the plot. I kind of doubt that it will, but we'll see. For now, it's forced and bad. You know, the moment has passed of letting the fandoms burn. You know, that was in the last episode, and I went on a whole thing about that. In fact, you can find, there should be like a card right here that'll link you to my Supergirl Season 3 Episode 9 review. I go into this whole thing about watching the fandoms burn. It was a lot of fun. But anyway, but that moment has passed now. Now, you need to develop this into an actual relationship, and so far they're not. So far it's just kind of boring. They even kind of force it, like Lena will say, "Oh, Kara, you were right," and I'll explain how she's talking to Kara in a second, but, "Oh, Kara, you're right. It's like, there really is chemistry between me and James." It's like, shut up. No, there's not. That is so forceful writing. It's kind of bad. It's actually bad writing, really. Saying that, if you have to say that you have chemistry, you really don't. Excuse me one moment. And I'm back. What was I saying? Sorry, it's a few minutes later. Darby's... whatever. Anyway. I was talking about Lames and really forced writing with the two of them. Yeah, if you have to say that you have chemistry, most likely you don't. It's like in my video on Ghost Adventures. If you have to say you're credible, you're not credible. And you can find that video right here. Go watch that. It's my new series. Alright, so I mentioned before that she talks to Kara about James. Let me now explain how she is able to talk to Kara. Basically, because they don't really know Lena doesn't know where Kara is, Jimmy says, well, she has the flu, and yeah, she's very sick, and Lena was like, well, I should go over and check on her, you know, I'm her friend, and James is like, yeah, I guess, and he's like, be sure you go get soup, and basically he's trying to delay her because he knows, I have to call the DEO, and Jean has to go over there and pretend to be Kara again. And he does. Sure enough, he calls Win. He's like, Win, I really need help. And Win goes over to Jean, and he's like, hey, boss, guess what? And Jean's like, oh no, I have to do this again. And he goes over, and so now it's this fun little situation Supergirl occasionally has where Melissa Benoist, who plays Supergirl, Melissa Benoist, is playing Jean Jones playing Kara. I love that. it's so funny because she has to match his mannerisms matching her mannerisms. It's so much fun, and Melissa Benoist sells it. Like, I believe that that's actually John Jones, so kudos to her. So, I say so a lot, don't I? Anyway, yeah, so that's really fun and stuff. I can't start thinking about how many times I say so. Yeah, that's really cool. It's really funny, and I guess there's really nothing much else to say about that. We cut back to, I guess, the DEO, honestly, at this point. I'm kind of going out of order. I'm just trying to hit all the points. And, so, finally, Mon-El is like, okay, we need to step in, we need to help. Because we are the Legion of Superheroes, and they have a nice, cool ring, which I don't have, so I don't know why I'm doing that. And so he goes, he has a suit now. Also, his ring lets him fly. Thank you. It's like, hello, this guy needs to be able to fly. Like, every other character can fly except this guy. So, now he can fly with a ring. So, yeah. Also, throughout this entire episode, they've been saying, like, well, Mon-El taught us the ways of Earth in the past because, like, in the 24th century, 25th, 24th-ish, I guess the 2400s, there's like an extinction level event and Earth loses like all of its culture and all of its history and stuff. So Mon-El basically reteaches them, which is fun, which is ironic because he's not from Earth, but it's like he taught us everything, Shakespeare and Dickens and Bon Jovi and stuff. And they keep referencing like Bon Jovi songs throughout this, which is hilarious. And then, I don't know why I didn't see this coming, but, so Rain is attacking, like, I want to say Iron Heights, because that's just the prison they use on the Flash and Arrow, but it's not Iron Heights, it's just some prison, and she's attacking there to get rid of all the sinners, and basically, first off, she comes up on the religious dude, from a few episodes back, the religious, I get the Kryptonian religious dude, even though he's not Kryptonian, he just believes in the Kryptonian religion. He's back, which is great. I love this character. He's really interesting. And basically, before she has a chance to kill him, over the speakers is Bon Jovi. They're just playing Bon Jovi. She flies out into, like, I guess the courtyard or whatever. I don't know what it's called in a prison. But just the area, you know, where all the prisoners, like, work out and stuff. Like, I kind of expected to see Punisher come over and see Wilson Fisk. But yeah, so Rain comes out, they're still blasting Bon Jovi, and there is Mon-El, I believe Irma's superhero name is Saturn Girl, but I think that's just what I've seen, I don't know. And their ship, which is being piloted by Brainiac 5. And they attack, and it's fun. Unfortunately, Bon Jovi doesn't play through the whole thing. It's unfortunate, but they probably could only... Either they could only get a little bit of Bon Jovi, or they just didn't feel like playing the whole song. It's unfortunate. I would have loved to have seen that entire fight scene set to Bon Jovi. I actually can't remember which song it was, which is kind of bad. I actually cannot remember which Bon Jovi song it was, but it was good. So, anyway, but yeah, during this, Supergirl back in her coma, and this is a little bit before this too. I'm sorry I go out of order a little bit, but she's trying to figure out why she can't wake up from her coma, and she ends up finding a picture of like this cat, and she said that she found this cat shortly after arriving on Earth, and for the longest time she didn't touch it because she didn't know her own strength. And eventually, I just realized there's a wing in my hair. Yeesh. I guess that's going to stay there for today. Eventually, she, I guess, mastered her strength enough to be able to pet it, and she realized her humanity. And that's kind of the thing, is that I guess sort of the thing through this entire season has been Supergirl remembering her humanity. And, you know, even with when she fought Reign before, Danvers was like, forget your humanity, just be Kryptonian, be cold, kill her, basically. So, yeah. So she wakes up, finally, and she goes out there, and she basically takes kryptonite, because she's the only person that can get close enough to stab kryptonite into Reign. Because see, before, they had kryptonite like on chains, and they just put the chains around Reign while she was down, and there was just kryptonite next to her, but that wasn't enough. Basically, they realized that they need to get kryptonite in her bloodstream. So the only way to do that was for Supergirl to go and actually stab her with, well, actually, I guess it was like a syringe of kryptonite. So yeah, and obviously the kryptonite is affecting Supergirl too, but she pulls through. Reign actually escapes and, you know, takes the kryptonite with her because it's in her bloodstream now. And the day is saved for now, because Reign goes back to her Fortress of Solitude and is basically like, and she like gets all the kryptonite out of her bloodstream, and she's like, I lost. It's like, this can't happen. And her like holograms are like, don't worry, you have friends. And then they bring out Religious Dude, and he's like, yes, I can help you. And it's like, freaking Religious Dude. But again, he's an interesting character. I just kind of wish he wasn't really a villain, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with him. He's interesting. Yeah. And then after that, all's well that ends well, pretty much, for this episode. So yeah, I'll get into some final thoughts before we wrap up here. Really great episode. I really like this. I like that we've sort of culminated everything that this season has done into this episode. I think Supergirl even said, or Kara said, she has like a new perspective on the whole Mon-El situation. It's like, it hurts that he's back, but she's ready to accept it and move on, which is good. She's embraced her humanity again, which is good. Basically, everything has sort of come together to where now we can move forward with the show and take it into where we're going next with Reign and maybe possible other world killers. Maybe that's what they were implying. Not just Religious Dude, whose name I don't know. So yeah, excellent episode. I really like this. And I have to say, now Supergirl is killing it this season. We had some hiccups in the beginning. Mostly my issues with the beginning of this season was with the Danvers-Maggie relationship stuff. I couldn't give a crap about that. I hated it. I thought it added nothing to the plot, and when it was so intrusive is when I really hated it. But that's all over now, and now this is a really solid show. I would even say right now it's better than The Flash right now, which is interesting. Like, I really look forward to each and every episode of Supergirl now. Whereas last season, I looked forward to Supergirl, but not as much as The Flash or Legends. I might still like Legends a little bit more this season, because I just love Legends. And yeah. So let me know what you guys think of this episode in the comments, and let me know what are your thoughts on the Supergirl Legends time swap. If you don't know about that, you can just Google Supergirl or Legends of Tomorrow, and you'll probably find an article talking about the time swap. Basically, we have 4 episodes of Supergirl, and then the rest of Legends, and then the rest of Supergirl. So that kind of all sucks. Maybe that's better for another video, but if you want to talk about that in the comments, that's good too. So yeah. End cards are going to pop up right about now. You can click on those. You can follow 7th Hour Films on Twitter at 7th Hour Films, where you can get updates on what episodes of Supergirl I'm reviewing. Tune in. Next up is Black Lightning.